أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Picking up with the legendary military ideology of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. We are currently in the volume 2 of the book showing on display page number 36. This is your humble yet respectable orator Muhammad Israel, and the series is the legendary military series of the Prophet sallallahu Alayhi Wasallam, beginning with his career, which is the Madanite period. And then we moved on to the legendary military legacy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the era of Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. It was followed by the legendary military government, of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with the era of Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab. And then we moved on to the legendary military empire of Rasoolu'Allahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the era of Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, the owner of the two lights. And then now we have moved on to the era of Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, the door of the city of knowledge himself. This is the military ideology of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And picking up again from page number 36, Ibn Taymiyyah said Mu'awiya did not claim to be the Khalif, and allegiance was not sworn to him as Khalif when he fought Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. He did not fight on the basis that he was a Khalif or on the basis that he deserved that position. Mu'awiya ibn Abi Sufyan party affirmed that Ali radiallahu anhu was in fact the Khalif, and Mu'awiya would confirm to anyone who asked him that Ali was the Khalifa. This is what he would say: neither Mu'awiya nor his companions thought of initiating fighting against Ali and his companions, and they did not do that. End quote by Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah also said that each of the two groups confirmed that Mu'awiya was not as qualified as Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu with regard to being Khalif, and that he could not be Khalif when it was possible to appoint Ali to that position radiallahu anhuma. Ali ibn Abi Talib's superiority, seniority, knowledge, religious commitment, courage, and all his virtues were obvious and well known to him, as was also the case with regard to his fellow Khalifs Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn al-Khattab, and Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. May Allah Ta'ala be pleased with all of them. The difference of opinion did not result from rejection of Ali ibn Abi Talib's Khalifat radiallahu anhu. The difference was only concerning the issue of bringing the murderers of Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan to justice. Even then, the difference of opinion was not about the issue itself. Rather, it was about the way in which to bring them to justice. Amirul Mu'minin, the commander of the believers, Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu, agreed with Mu'awiya in principle that the killers of Uthman must be brought to justice. But his view was that the issue of bringing them to justice should be set aside until things settled down and unity was achieved. And Nawawi said, and I quote, "It should be noted that the reason for these battles was that the issue were not clear. Because they were so unclear, they held different views, and three groups emerged. The first group, a group whose view was that one party was in the right and that those who differed with them were transgressors. They thought that they had to support this party and fight the transgressors according to what they believed, and that it was not permissible for the one who reached the conclusion to withhold help and support from the leader who was in the right by fighting the transgressors according to this belief. The next group, a group that held the opposite view, they thought that the other party was in the right, so it became obligatory for them to support that party and fight those who transgressed against them. The third group, a third group was that undecided type about the issue and confused about it and did not reach any conclusion as to which party was more in the right. They kept away from both and believed that this staying away was what they were required to do with regard to this situation, because it was not permissible for them to help anyone in fighting other Muslims unless it was clear to them that they deserved to be fought, and that if they concluded that one of the two parties was closer to the right, it would not be permissible for them to withhold their support in fighting the transgressor. Page number 38, Zubayr, Talha and Aisha and their supporters set out for Basra to set things straight. Talha, Zubayr, went to Mecca and met with Aisha, the mother of the believers, bint Abi Bakr radiallahu anha, quite different from ours. Their arrival in Mecca came in the month of Rabi al-Akhir 36 AH, approximately 4 months after the murder of Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu. In Mecca, negotiations began with Aisha about going out on a campaign in pursuit of the murderers of Sayyidina Uthman. There was heavy psychological pressure on those who felt that they had done nothing to stop the murder of the wronged Khalif. They blamed themselves for letting him down, even though Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu was the one who forbade anyone who wanted to defend him from doing so, because he wanted to offer himself as a sacrifice for the sake of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. They thought that there was no way to expiate this sin except by going out to seek vengeance. Aisha radiallahu anha said, and I quote, Uthman was slain wrongfully, and by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu I shall certainly seek vengeance for his blood, end quote. Talha said, and open quote, there were some shortcomings on my part with regard to Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan, and there is no way I can ever repent except to shed my own blood in vengeance for his blood, end quote. And as Zubayr said, open quote, let us inspire the people so that we may seek vengeance for his blood, lest it be forgotten, because forgetting it will lead to the weakening of the authority of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu among us forever. If we do not deter people from doing this again, there will be no leader except that people of that kind will kill him, end quote. This intense pressure on nerves and souls was sufficient to stir people up and motivate them to go out on the campaign. When they went, they realized that they were going out to face unknown turmoil, and each one of them left his home not expecting to return to it. The children bade farewell weeping, and the day when these people left Mecca for Basra was known as the Day of Wailing, a day that was unprecedented with regard to weeping for Al-Islam. Very important. A number of factors in Mecca made them think seriously of striving to achieve their goal. One was the fact that the Umayyads had fled from Al-Madinah and settled in Mecca. In addition, Abdullahi ibn Amir, the governor of Basra at the time of Sayyidina Uthman, was in Mecca, urging people to go out and offering them material help. Ya'la ibn Umayyah, who had left Yemen to help the Khalif Uthman, had learned upon his arrival in Mecca that the Khalif had been martyred. He had with him considerable amount of money, weapons, and mounts. all of which he offered as help in pursuing the murderers of Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan. This was sufficient to encourage those who were looking for a way to pursue the murderers. They had the means to gather a force to pursue the murderers of Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan, but where would they begin? A discussion took place among them as to what direction they should take. Some of them, led by Aisha radiallahu anha, said that Medina, and again not to be confused with Aisha Bowers, said that Medina was where they should go. Another view was that they should head towards Syria so that they could rally there against the murderers of Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan. After a lengthy discussion, they settled on Basra. There were too many of the rebels in Al-Madinah, and they would not be able to confront them and fight them because they were fewer in number. And Syria was already under control because Mu'awiya was there. Hence, going to Basra was most appropriate at the time. Because it was the least strong of the cities, from there they hoped to be able to achieve their aims. Their plan and mission were clear before they set out. During their march and when they reached Basra, the intent was to seek vengeance for the murder of Sayyidina Uthman, to set things straight, to inform the people of what the murderers had done, and to enjoin good and forbid evil. Their demand was to carry out one of the hadd punishments of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. If the murderers of Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan were not punished, then every leader would be vulnerable to murder by people of that nature. As for the way in which they investigated doing, the way in which they envisioned doing that, they intended to enter Basra and then Kufa, seeking help from its people and others against the killers of Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu. Then they would call upon the people of other cities to join them so that they could corner the murderers of Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu who were present in the army of Ali and seize them with the minimum possible casualties. The campaign to Basra and the anger that stirred the companions were not as straightforward as they may have appeared to some people. Their purpose was not simply to avenge the murder of Uthman as if he were just an ordinary person who had been killed, even though this also would involve a transgression of one of the sacred limits of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu that dictated getting angry and sending armies to seek vengeance. This was much more serious because of the position and character of Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan, his status as Khalif, and the way in which he was killed. It was the assassination of a Sharia figure, the Khalif, whom the Muslimin regarded as the deputy of the lawgiver Allah Jalla Jalaluhu in his role of protecting the religion and ruling worldly affairs in accordance with Sharia. Hence, unlawful transgression against him constituted transgressing against the lawgiver and weakening his authority, Jalla Jalaluhu, as well as disturbing law and order for the Muslimin. Aisha, Talha, and Az-Zubayr radiallahu anhum, along with the people who accompanied them, were striving to create a groundswell of al-Islam public opinion to confront this Saba'i gang who had murdered Sayyidina Uthman and had since gained significant power. They meant to do this by making the Muslimin aware of what these Saba'i thugs who came from different regions and tribes and the Bedouins and slaves who supported them had done. Among the group of the companions that held the same view as Aisha, it became clear that the criminals of Saba'is had a presence in Ali's army. They believed that this was why it was difficult for Sayyidina Ali to confront them. because he feared for the people of Al-Madinah. Hence they had to try to explain the situation to the Muslimin and garner support for the party that was demanding implementation of the Hadd punishment so that this could be accomplished with the minimum loss of innocent lives. That was undoubtedly a goal which Ali radiallahu anhu was striving to achieve as well. In fact, the reports that we have seen about the discussion among Zubair, Talha and Ali ibn Abi Talib refer to that point exactly. Their plan and their intention of informing the people of what was happening and explaining matters to them proves that they were fully aware of the situation. They recognized that the Saba'is had deceived the masses, and they understood how they had planted their ideas in a way which would continue to weaken the Ummah to such an extent that it would to an extent that it would not know any peace. Inshallah, we will end this one here on page number 41. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وتبارك اسم ربك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.